I've got here a Casio Fx-501p. Now this is the small brother of this Casio Fx-502p, and I thought I'd have a look and see what the differences are inside these machines. The only difference externally is that the 502p has got twice as many steps as the 501 and twice as many memories. Interestingly, there's a bug in the firmware, which means that the Fx-502p also has some capabilities of displaying alphanumeric characters on the display, which it does anyway because it needs to display the steps of the programs. But there's a way that you can access that and actually display that on the display in your programs. The 501p, as far as I know, doesn't have that bug. It is possible to display those characters using a modification of cassette program storage, but that probably works on the 501p. I haven't tried that. So let's have a look inside. The 502, it's one screw there. This has already been taken apart, and there's the circuit board. The 501, no batteries. Always take the batteries out. Take the screw out. Just move that down. There we go. And what have we got here? Now that's already quite interesting, because the 501 does look like it's the same circuit board. There is actually a position for this HD43109 here, which has only got half the legs on the quad flat pack. So it's a half quad flat pack, I presume. Everything else is very similar. The resistor values are the same. Yes, everything else is the same. So there we go. There's a jumper here which is open on the 501 and has been bridged with solder on the 502. So it could be that I could actually desolder that and have a look and see whether that's turned the 502 into a 501. But that does look like a very similar or the same circuit board. ICs are HD43109, HD43108, so they're the same. And it's another HD43109 with half the pins cut off in the 502, and we have the positions for those here. So you could turn this 501 into a 502 if you could duplicate the functions of the HD43109. So that's quite interesting. As a comparison, this is the later 602, which has got an alphanumeric display, and I think the number of steps was stepped up as well here. I believe there's 512 steps here, 256 on the 502, and 128 on the 501. But inside that calculator, it is completely different. This is one where I've taken the processor off and decapped it, and I've got a die shot of that. Unfortunately, I can't get to the ROM on it because it's buried. I need to take a layer off the chip. But as you can see, even though that's now upside down, that is the same form factor. We've got the connector here for the cassette interface. Batteries are at this end of the 602, whereas they're at that end of the 502, but it's the same sort of arrangement of three chips that we've got here. So this must be a RAM chip, the D444. I think it's the display chip at the top, this one here and here. Processor here, the HD43190. And they're different chips. There's a 43109 and 108 versus the 43191 and 190. So there's a short there as well, the G271 short. Now that could turn this 602 into a 601, because there is a small version of this as well. I don't have one of those. I've only got one 501, I think 3 502s, and I think 3 or 2.5 now 602s. This wasn't this wasn't working, there was broken tracks on the PCB here, and even if you resolder those, this board didn't work properly, there was something wrong with it. So I've used it to decap the processor. I really want to decap a 501 or a 502, so I think they're the same chipset, apart from this one extra memory here. But I'd really want to decap one of these, but unfortunately all of mine work, so if anyone out there has got a broken one and we can come to some sort of arrangement, I'd quite like to take the processor off that. But anyway, 501, 502 the same, except for one IC missing, and a jumper here. And actually I've just noticed that there's a capacitor position there which is actually there on this, so these aren't the same PCBs. What have we got there? Is that 13? No, that's RIM-X3. I can't see a version number for the PCB anywhere. But they do seem to be different versions of the PCB with respect to that capacitor there, which is a bit strange. I wouldn't have thought they would relay the board out just to move a capacitor a little bit along the track. So that is odd. Very odd. Right, I'm going to put this back together again now. There we go. Okay, I'm going to have a go at changing the jumper that I found on this 502 to see whether it turns into a 501. It might be that they detect the RAM chip rather than just use the jumper, but maybe not. So at the moment we've got one program, 255 steps free. So I'm going to just take it apart, remove the solder from that jumper with my iron of soldering. Let's see if I can do that. How easy is that? Not bad. Need a slightly hotter iron there. How will we do this? Let's find some desoldering wick. That'd probably be a good idea. Let's try desoldering it with some wick. Pull that off. There we go. Is that done? Looking much more like it's an open circuit. Right, let's just put the back on, put the batteries in and see whether it's made any difference. I do remember having tried this before, but I hadn't looked inside 501 at that point. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I suppose it's about the only thing it could be. There we go, so we're on. Have a look at mode 2. So we've still got our program, but now 127 steps. So yeah, that jumper turns this 502 into a 501. So that memory chip will be ignored. I suppose the interesting question is what happens if I put the jumper on the 501 with no RAM chip there. Probably going to get a bit upset. Let's have a look, because I know there's twice as many memories on the 502. So if I there you go, some dodgy characters. So this is just general rubbish, and you can see that you can actually get alphanumeric in the 7-segment displays. There's a C over there as well in the exponent. Memory 0.1. So yeah, so on the 501 you have, I think it's 10 or 11 memories, 0 to 9, and there's an F here as well. On the 502 you can actually have memory 0.2, so you can go memory 0.2, memory recall 0.2, and the 10 here indicates that you're actually getting memory 12, but here you don't get memory 12, you get 0.2, which is what the 501 does. and F, and point F. Point F just gives you exponent. And you can see on the front the 10 is missing here on the 501, and actually it's a different colour at the top, and that's about the only difference I can see. So that jumper is indeed the 501-502 jumper. Let's have a quick look the other way around. Let's just, I think I might put that back on and make sure I don't confuse myself later on with a 502 that isn't actually a 502. I'll just put some solder on there. That's definitely bridged that. So we should be back to 255 steps now. Oh, battery's not going to fit like that, is it? Right, so what have we got? Program's still there even though the battery's been out for a while. Back to 255 steps, so that's now 502p with its correct number of steps. Let's do the same job but in reverse on the 501. I've no real idea what's going to happen here. It's going to go wrong because we don't have enough memory. The memory chip is missing, so I really have no idea what it's going to do. It's probably going to go a bit bonkers. There we go. So that's now a fake 502. I think the schematic's available on the web, so it might be possible to fill that position in the 501 with a RAM chip, or maybe a PIC or something like that was capable of supplying the memory. So here we go, we're on mode 2. Complete garbage because it's been off for too long, so I'll clear it in mode 3. Go back to mode 2, P0255. So this now thinks that it's a 502, but that's not going to work. So let's go back to mode 1. So that's memory 1. Let's put 45 in memory 1. And let's have a look at memory 1, 45. Let's have a look at memory point 1, 0. Memory point 2. It's not displaying point 2, so it's trying to access it. So I'll put 23 in memory point 2. Yeah, so just zeros. So presumably if I go in here and I typed enough steps in, that would also go to 0. Let's see if we can get up to 127 and then just try going backwards and forwards. That was a bit quicker than I thought it was going to be. Oh, there you go. It's gone to 126. That's interesting. And it's stopped at 126. So it must check 127. It will not go any further, so it must check that the memory is working. Perhaps. Not sure what it's doing there. Yeah, so it does sort of realise that the RAM's not there, but yeah. Clear that. Back to mode 1. So I think it would probably function as a calculator, but the memories aren't there and half the program is missing. But I think I'll put that back as well to be a proper 501 so that I don't confuse myself later on. But I'd probably realise what was going on pretty quickly. I've been a bit of a twit. Right. Let's take that off. We don't want that there. It's going to be a bit obvious that someone's had a go at doing that. Just check that. That looks much more like the 501. Link open. There you go. .27. So now we are functioning properly. So it thinks it's a 501, and it is. Take the batteries out. That should be the mantra for calculator collectors. Right, so 501, 502, these two at least, very similar. Just a link and you can swap between them.